Welcome to the Hembury Books Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Muddett, and I'm the founder and publisher of Hembury Books. Today, our guest is Wendy Dale, who is an author and a seasoned memoir writing coach, challenging conventional advice about writing. With 15 years of experience reviewing thousands of manuscripts, Wendy developed the Memoir Engineering System, detailed in her upcoming book of the same name, which was published in January 2025. She's also creating the world's first writers' reality show based in Peru. Her clients have come from prominent media organisations such as Entertainment Weekly, The New York Post, and New York Times. Wendy is the author of the memoir Avoiding Prison and Other Noble Vacation Goals and resides in Cusco, Peru with her husband and 2 bunnies. Thanks a lot for coming on the podcast, Wendy.
I'm so glad to be here, Jess.
Your work focuses on debunking myths about memoir writing, specifically the notion that an author should write and write and write until they simply figure it out. Can you tell us a little bit about what your alternative approach is?
So the subtitle of my book, The Memoir Engineering System, is Make Your First Draft Your Final Draft. And that's kind of an ambitious claim, right? It's against this advice that we hear over and over again. Just write a crappy first draft.
Yeah.
Now, I don't literally expect someone to be perfect, but what I spent 15 years doing was analyzing over 1,000 memoir manuscripts to figure out the principles that all memoirs have in common. So I really believe there was a secret code, that there was a way, if you understood how books worked, if you understood these components of memoir, you didn't have to write and rewrite. Personally, I got so tired of writing and throwing out my drafts. It's really painful as a writer. You know, you write the scene and it's so gorgeous. Kill your darlings, right?
Yeah.
And it's so painful. So I wanted to create a system where your structure at least was something that you figured out at the outline level. So you figure out your structure and then you do rewrite the prose, but at least you know that every scene that you're writing is actually going to go in the final version of your book. That's what I wanted to do. So
yeah, and then our books can be published quicker, because I think it's terrible to get to the end and want to throw away the whole draft. It's just awful.
It really is. I have people who come to me, some of them, I think the longest has been 30 years, right? And so by that point, this woman had accumulated thousands of pages. So now she has a bigger problem, right? What do you do with 1,000 pages? And how do you figure out what stays and what goes? It's really painful. And I wanted to do something different.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, because there's also some common advice from traditional publishers. I've heard it be said, you know, if your book doesn't get picked up, put it away and go and write another book. And maybe that one will get picked up. And if it doesn't, put that away. And I'm just like, these books have to see the light of day, and we need to write with the commitment that it's going to be published.
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah, that sounds horrible to me as a professional writer. Just start over, right?
How can we be so flippant about these hours and hours of toiling away, you know? Where do you think most writers get their writing tips from, and why do you suggest that these tips are misguided? And also, could you give us an example of one such tip?
I don't know where writers get their tips, I assume. Probably watching podcasts. I scan
like
the
this
internet,
one,
and every time I do, right? Where do you get your tips?
I read a lot of books on writing.
You know, and I have as well. Especially, I started way back when I was writing my own memoir, looking for tips, and I just found a bunch of generic advice that I didn't find helpful. So a lot of podcasts, a lot of books as well, kind of generic advice. And it drove me crazy. And I really wanted to have concepts. I wanted to explain concepts that were the opposite of that. I wanted very practical information, right? Sometimes you get a lot of vague advice, such as, you know, start with theme or make your book universal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. Now, how do I do that? But there's no follow-up on how you make your book universal. And I really wanted, okay, I think that it's true. You want your book to be universal. You want people to identify with your story. However, how do you do that? And so I really went out of my way to say, okay, here's where you insert your universal theme. I mean, where does it go in your book? So that was something I wanted to change because I was really frustrated with everything that I saw that was out there. Another thing that I see a lot is an over-reliance on description, an over-reliance on the belief that you have to give your reader everything, right? So you give your reader a visual experience is the common advice. Yeah, but they're going to create their own images and you don't have to describe a room from left to right. What's far more important is your point of view and putting us inside your head, because that's how you create. So I tell my writers that, your goal isn't to create a visual experience for your reader, it's to create an emotional one. And you do that in a different way than describing everything, than giving us lots of visual details.
Okay. And why did you decide to focus on memoirs?
I laugh because I thought it would be easier way back when. No, right? Yes, I laugh at my naivete. I decided to become a writer when I was, 19 years old. When I was in college, I made the decision that I was going to be a writer. And I thought, well, I always really wanted to be a novelist, to be honest with you. And I thought, well, memoir is a good stepping stone, because in my mind, when I was I actually started writing my memoir when I was 23. So back then I thought, well, I don't have to come up with the plot. I already lived through it, right? So I thought that memoir writing would be a lot easier. And I was very wrong. I've fallen in love with memoir, partly because of the challenge of it. So I tell people that fiction is like being an oil painter. You have a blank canvas and you only put on the canvas what's necessary. Being a memoir writer is like being a sculptor. And it's much more difficult because you have all the information. You know what you've done in your life. And your challenge is to sculpt away, which is a lot harder until what's left is plot, is a story. So I've fallen in love with memoir, but I was very wrong in that it was much easier than fiction. I think the opposite is actually true.
And your experience of writing a memoir, when was the moment that you decided to become a memoir coach yourself?
It was actually quite a bit after my own memoir got published. So my memoir came out in 2003, which is, over 20 years ago. And it was years later. I started being a memoir coach 17 years ago. So I forget what year that is, but I think that being a writer and being a teacher, being a coach are actually two different skill sets. And so I got hired initially from an organization. I got hired by an organization as a coach because they said, well, she got a memoir traditionally published. She must know what she's talking about. Well, sort of. I think teaching and writing really are two different skills. And this was the beginning of my journey to really understand how memoir works. Because I had written a memoir, I had structured a memoir, but I'd only figured out how to write one book. I didn't figure out how all memoirs work, which is a really different challenge.
Amazing. Can you tell us about your memoir? It just has such a great title.
Yes, it's a lot of stupid stuff I did in my 20s, right? I told you I started writing it when I was 23. In the end, it is the story of freeing a man from a Costa Rican prison for a crime he didn't commit, and it's a comedy. So...
Wow. That sounds incredible. What were his circumstances?
Oh, it's kind of a long, complicated story. So he was Colombian. He had a daughter in Costa Rica. He entered the country with a fake passport because his wife, it's long and convoluted. His wife had put out a warrant against him because she had stolen his car, and he knew he couldn't enter the country. So she was accusing him of something he didn't do, his ex-wife.
Wow. Okay. And how long have you lived in Peru for, and what took you to Peru?
I have lived in Peru. This time I've lived in Peru for 6 years. Prior to that, I lived in the country of Bolivia. So I left the United States 19 years ago, My husband's Bolivian. We came here right before COVID. No one knew COVID was going to happen.
Yeah.
I lived in Peru as a child. So my first memories are of living in Peru. So in a strange way, I really do feel like I'm home. Both of my sisters were born in Peru. We left. I mean, I have spent half of my life in the United States, but the other half of it I've spent in South America.
Have you considered a memoir about living in Peru?
Honestly, if I were to write another memoir, and I have so many projects going on right now that I'm not sure that is really my priority, it would probably be, I had started it and I kind of put it off to the side because I'm working with so many clients right now. It would probably be about the time that my husband and I lived in 12 different places in 12 months. So there was a lot happening then.
Wow, yeah. That sounds amazing.
That was in Bolivia. So
yeah, amazing. I would read it, Wendy.
Well, super.
Yeah, there you go. You spent 15 years reading what you have described as imperfect memoirs. How were these examples imperfect? And did you find it was often in the same way?
It was. So I think the memoir engineering system to me feels like my life's work more than being a memoir writer. This was really a passion project for me. It really was this idea that there's this hidden code and I had to find it, right? And I did it step by step, and it really was a process of reverse engineering the manuscripts I found. I was working as a memoir writing coach, and so I would get things turned into me, and I would say, there's something wrong with this. First of all, what is the mistake? And then I'm going to flip it around, and I know there's a principle here. So if I can give people a principle, they won't make this error. And honestly, the mistakes fell into categories. I kept seeing the same things over and over again, which made me realize, okay, there are principles here. I just have to figure out what they are.
Okay.
And so you asked me what they were, right? And so I will say one of the big ones, probably the biggest thing that I work really hard with my clients to change is something I made the mistake of, thinking that your memories of your life are plot. It really, I call it writing from memory. And so you describe a period in your life, and it really is not the same as plot. That is my biggest challenge working with people, is helping them take memories and turn them into plot. It really is a different thing. So the other thing people tend to do is they describe their life. And I tell people plot starts with scenes, right? Things have to happen in your book for there to be plot. You can't have plot without things happening, and you can't have things happening without scenes. So a huge mistake I see people make, not when it comes to fiction. I think fiction writers know that you have to write scenes, but memoirists think, oh, I can just describe this whole period of my life. But for a reader, it feels like nothing has happened.
I see. Yeah, I often say if I'm book coaching, like imagine it's your life and that people are walking out on the stage, and what does that look like? You know, like, and what's happening there?
Exactly. What is happening? That's probably my favorite question. What happens, right? Instead of describing a period in their life, every summer we would go to the pool. Rather, one day we went to the pool and what happened? It's a totally different way of thinking of your story.
Yeah. What do you think are the essential ingredients for a great memoir?
Honestly, I think it is subjective. Well, first of all, I tell people you have to get your structure right. So I think a lot of people misunderstand the term structure. When I Google structure, everything that comes up is 3-act structure, right? And so people think of structure as this global thing. Structure is in every sentence in your book, right? And I've become a bit of an expert in structure. That was my obsession with uncovering this code. So I totally lost track of the question.
What are the essential ingredients of a great memoir?
So I tell people structure is there to keep your reader from being confused. It's like the structure in a house. No one walks into a house and says, oh, I love the structural engineering. I love how these beams are holding this house together. No one notices that. That's what your structure is doing. What people notice is the beautiful furniture, the paintings, the color of the wall, and that is your prose. So you need structure, because if you don't have structure, you're basically, you have no walls to your house, right? So no one's going to notice your beautiful furniture because your book's falling apart. Your house is falling down. So you need structure so that people can notice the prose. People don't notice the prose, they notice the people don't notice the structure, they notice the prose, and that's what makes them love a book or not. But if you don't have structure, they're never going to notice the prose.
I've
so
never
good structure, good prose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the winning combination. Yeah. Now, this is very exciting. You are creating the world's first writers reality TV show, which is set in Peru. Can you tell us everything about it, and how did this project begin?
I have wanted to do a reality show for a long time for writers, because writers don't have a reality show. And what was stopping me from doing it was the problem that watching someone write is incredibly boring, right? I mean, what are people writing are just thinking, right? And that's not engaging television. And so, quick note here: I went to film school in Bolivia, so I have a bit of a background. I worked in Hollywood for a while. I have a screenwriting background as well. So I wanted to do this. It's one of my other loves. And didn't know how to do it. And over the years, we just have ideas. And finally, actually, this past January, finally went, you know what if we bring them to Peru and we have them participate in activities, these cultural activities, then there would be something interesting to film. And so then, there's a small part of the show is them actually reading what they've written. So they had to write about their experiences. It doesn't take up a lot, but it is, obviously an essential ingredient to creating a reality show for writers. So we already filmed it. We filmed it in May. We have an Australian candidate. I'm not going to tell you who won. Yeah, we had people from all over the world. We had an Australian, New Zealander, Canada, people from the US, someone from Berlin, and the UK as well.
So what do you mean when you say a candidate? Like,
contestants?
And okay, what's the prize?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So, sorry, you go.
Oh, you want to know when it's coming out?
Yes.
So do I. So it was a massive amount of work to get it filmed, and it's even more work to get it edited. We have 110 hours, and we need to cut it down to there are going to be 6 episodes. Each episode is about 45 minutes. So it's a massive amount of work. It'll come out next year. It'll come out in 2026. I don't know the exact date.
Wow. So and video channels on YouTube, so we can watch it from Australia.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
And have you done that under your own film production studio? Like, is it your company?
I had yes, I've done a lot of short films in Bolivia. So I had a few of my Bolivian crew members come out, and then the rest were Peruvian crew members, all Latin American crew. So
amazing. If a writer was watching this and really hoping that they could be on a future season, is that going to be on the cards?
We really do hope so. Yeah, I think it's going to look very different. We want every season to be quite different. So season 2 will look very different. It will be in Peru, but probably a different part of Peru. But yeah, we hope to do several seasons.
Amazing. And were they quite well-known writers that we'll be watching?
So I would say we opened up casting to people and really just judged people not on their resume at all, but the quality of the submissions. So it's people who wanted to work on their memoir had to submit a writing sample, a short video, and we really chose people based on their video as well, but in great part by what they submitted.
Wow.
So do they have tons of experience? No, a lot of them don't.
Do they have on-screen charisma? Yes.
That was very important. Yes.
Yeah.
I hope they do.
You might
Yes.
make stars of them, Wendy.
Maybe. Exactly. That's the idea, right?
Wow, that is amazing. I would love to go on that show.
Really?
Now,
Well, I will let you know.
oh, let me know. That would be amazing. That would be unreal.
Yeah.
You have spent your life traveling the world, and you've been involved in or witnessed some pretty scary, confronting, and life-changing events. How have these experiences shaped where you're at right now?
So I think I've always felt at home in Latin America because I lived here as a kid, and so I really do. I feel at home. Yeah, I think travel does change you. People mistake me for a traveler, and I'm really not. I just I just go to a foreign country and stay. So I
You're an
don't do much
expatriate.
traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in South America. I love Cusco, and I don't see us leaving anytime soon. So,
Can you tell us what it's like? Like, can you describe it to us?
oh, it's such a great question. I I love the history. I love the architecture. It feels very European. We have the Spanish came to South America. They landed in Peru, right? So this was where they started. So there's this gorgeous Spanish colonial architecture that I think is beautiful. It's very safe. Unlike the capital city, Lima. I think people hear Peru and they've heard bad things on the news. Lima is not a place I would want to live. Cusco is so safe. You can walk at night alone. I've never felt scared. You can change money on the streets. No one is following you. So I love the safety here. I find people really open and kind. I really love the people. It helps that I speak Spanish. I've spoken Spanish since I was a child. I think there's one of the things I really love is there's a sense of community here. So recently, my neighbor, his mother died, and it was incredible. This is a city of 400,000 people, not huge, but it's a city. The entire neighborhood showed up for her funeral. So there really is this strong sense of, I know my neighbors very well.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I think that's one of my favorite things, that people support each other here, that I didn't feel that. I lived in LA for the longest time in the United States, and that's not a place where you really know your neighbors' names.
No. Is there an expatriate community?
Probably.
Yeah.
So I don't really, all of my friends are Peruvian. My husband's Bolivian.
Yeah.
There is an expat community, and they tend not to live in the city of Cusco. They live in the Sacred Valley,
Right.
which is because everyone says, do you guys live in the Sacred Valley? And I'm like, no, we live in the city. So I think there is a big expat community, but tiny one in the actual city of Cusco.
Wow, just fascinating. Final question for you is, what are you focused on for the upcoming year?
For the upcoming year, I'm trying to get this reality show edited. Running Memoir Writing for Geniuses, which is my company where we coach writers. So we always have, I always need lots of time to coach the writers. So between coaching writers and the reality show, that's what's happening for the rest of 2025 and 2026.
Amazing. What a great purposeful work you have.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it means a lot to me. So thank you.
That's wonderful. Okay, well, if writers need to reach out to you to join one of your courses, how can they get in touch?
Easiest way to find me is go to freememoirclass.com. It actually will link you to my website, and you can, as the name implies, get a free memoir class.
Amazing. Okay, thanks a lot, Wendy. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Jess.